Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video from the Minecraft Create mod, where today we are going to be asking ourselves 5 important questions that will hopefully lead to the answers to the problem of why isn't my contraption working? And the first question we're going to be asking ourselves is, why is my belt going the wrong way? And the answer to that is usually one of 2 reasonably simple fixes. If you're using a water wheel or a windmill or anything that has a direction, normally it can go in both directions when it is powering something. So for example, if you have put your water down at the bottom on one side of your wheel and going, ooh, that's not the way I wanted the belt to go, I wanted it to go the other way. First thing to try is try putting that water source on the other side. If you pop it on the other way, so it's flowing the other way around your wheel, whoop, there we go, the belt is now travelling in the direction we wanted it to. Another thing that can cause this exact same issue is if you have got too many gearboxes going on, because every time you use a gearbox, it changes the direction of the shaft that runs through it. So for example, if I take out that little shaft, and I pop another gearbox on top, hello, we are going back in the wrong direction again. And so, if your belt is heading the wrong way, just make sure you haven't got an extra gearbox that's snuck in somewhere. And the same goes for windmills. If at the moment your windmill is travelling in a direction and it's causing things to go the wrong way, you'll notice that on the front of it, it has got a little dial with an arrow which is telling you what direction it will currently travel in. So if you hold down the right mouse button over there, it brings up its own tiny little HUD that you can see, and you can decide, do you want it to go counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, or do you want it to go clockwise? Click on that, and boom, we have turned around. Once again, that would change the direction of our belts and things. And the next question we're going to answer is, what do you mean overstressed? So here we are, I've got a nice little contraption here. For some reason I need to power an awful lot of drills that are going to be running down there. I've hooked these up to a water wheel just on the side. There's my power source, and I've got these cogs around the back so everything can be powered. Great. So if I pop my water up there, my little water wheel spins. Hey, my little mechanical drills are doing their bit as well. So I add another one on. Overstressed. This is something you'll see an awful lot when you first start making contraptions. And there is a very complicated way to explain it, and there is a really simple way to explain it. And I'm a big fan of simplifying things, so it just means you need more power. Literally, that is all that this means. You will notice if you've got any goggles and you're able to pop them on your head, so when you look at anything with your cursor, you'll notice that it comes up and it starts talking about kinetic stress impact, so that's how much stress this particular unit uses, so this is taking up 64, as is the one next to it. All of the mechanical drills will be using 64, and if you look at any power source, that will tell you how much kinetic stress it is able to deal with. That's the complicated way of looking at things. For now though, all we need to know is overstressed means you need more power, so let's give it more power. Let's give it another power source, another water wheel. Whoop, there we go, everything is moving again. We can start adding our drills. And we're overstressed again, because once again we have got too much demand on the system. We need more power. So here we go, let's pop another little water wheel on. We'll give that a little water source, and everything is going again. If you see that overstressed, just increase your power output a little bit. And the same goes if you're using windmills as well. If you've got one of these powering your contraptions and it's saying overstressed at the moment, then you need to make your windmill more powerful. Luckily we don't need to have lots of them like you do with water wheels. We can just make this one stronger by adding more sails to it. So at the moment you'll notice this little tiny windmill is able to have a capacity of 1024 stress units. Even a tiny windmill is a lot more powerful than your average water wheel. But let's say this still isn't strong enough. First of all, you'll need to stop it from spinning before you'll be able to do any changes to it. Do that just by right-clicking with an empty hand. Boop, it will pop back to its original position, and then we'll be able to add some more sails. And we'll just pop a few more around the sides. There we go, it's getting a little bit wide, but that's fine. Then if we set it off again, aha, so we can see that it now has 1500 stress units that it's able to deal with, a significant power increase for only a few more sails. And the next question we're going to answer is one I like to think of as, why are you making that? So this is a little mock-up of an andesite farm. What it's going to do is it is going to take lava, which we'll just pop in this container. That is then going to go through into the basin just over there, which is then going to mix up with gravel coming in from a gravel farm. There you go, load you up with gravel. And with flint coming in from a flint farm, or wherever flint is being a refuse from, it's usually a waste product. And that's going to mix up in our basin, and it's going to become andesite for us. There we go, so we can see our andesite coming in. That's not andesite, what is this? Why are you making this? So we're getting a supply of gravel bricks. A very pretty texture, but definitely not andesite, which is what we were after. And so we have got a mod compatibility issue going on. If we have a little look in JEI or anything like that, we'll see if we hover over to the gravel bricks texture, it takes 4 gravel, squashes them down into the automated packing in our press to make gravel bricks. Well, that's a bit of a problem, isn't that? Because we want it to be making our andesite for us, which only needs 1 tiny little piece of gravel, but it does need lava, which is slow to produce. And so with this contraption, every time this basin doesn't have enough lava in it, which is coming in very slowly, it makes gravel bricks instead of andesite, and we're building up quite a collection of them. And this is quite a common issue because lots of the mods are made to be able to work together, which is fantastic. Mod compatibility is always good. It means that if these, for example, this is the twigs mod that I've got installed, if I click on pretty much any of these recipes, it will come up with a way that I can make it using the create mod instead. 2 different mods working well together. The only problem is, of course, when you get this incompatibility going on. Luckily, it's easy to fix. We can tell this basin exactly what we want it to make, just by putting a little andesite, boop, on its little front filter just there. Now it will sit and wait for the lava to build up, and it won't try to make those gravel bricks. It's not in its recipe function. As we can see, it just works slowly, waits for the lava, as soon as it reaches 100, makes us a nice little andesite that goes in. Complex problem, easy fix. So we've had why are you making that, and now it's time for why won't you just work. So I've got a nice little setup here. I've got a chest into which I can place some oak logs. I want those to come out of that funnel, go along the belt, get stripped down by this saw, and then go into this chest as nice stripped oak logs. I'm going to be able to power that if I come around the back. I can see that I've got 3 shaft attachment points just there, so I can pop those on. I can link them up with a belt because that's nice and cheap. Whoop, not like that I can't. It needs to go across all 3 of them. That way I'm powering both of my belts at once. And then I can give this some power. My oak logs come out. They get stripped down by the saw and go off into the chest on the other side. Or not. Maybe it just stands there and blocks up the entire contraption. Why won't you just work? And the reason for this is because sometimes, horribly, Minecraft actually has a tiny little bit of common sense attached. That saw, we can tell, is currently travelling in the same directions as the belt, which isn't how circular saws work, of course. It needs to be travelling in the opposite direction, and so we just have to put a little bit of extra thought into this. Okay, so I can't use the belt. We'll take that one out. Instead, we will use cogwheels because they change direction every time they turn against each other. Aha! Now if we put all those together, out comes along our belt. The wood then gets sawn down, then it goes off the belt there into our chest. Haha, it works. And it's not only saws where you need to think a little bit about how you are arranging things. So here we've got a couple of crushing wheels. We can see that they are working, they're definitely powered. And so if I pop some cobble in there, do we think that's going to get crushed up? Of course it's not. There is absolutely no way with the direction they are both turning that is going to get trapped in between our crushing wheels. And so, in this case again, we need to make sure that this one is turning in the right direction. The easiest way, same as we saw all that time ago, changing direction of something is to use our gearboxes. So what I'll do, I'll just come and grab a gearbox, either one. If I swap out one of these shafts at the back, aha, that's looking a little bit better. It now looks like it's going to be able to squash something in between those wheels. Let's try our cobble again. And there we go. Once you can see all of those particles splattering out of there, you know that it is doing its job. It is going to be crushing those down into gravel. And there we go. So we can see we now have our gravel that has been produced for us. And the final question is, how do I force you to do something else? Sometimes contraptions can get a little bit locked into doing one thing you don't want them to. This basin, for example, has automatically placed itself so that it is outputting packed mud onto this far belt. A wrench, on the other hand, is your best friend in these scenarios, because one little click and it will output instead onto a different area that it can reach to, and it will be able to flip quite happily between the two of them. There we go, so we can decide where it is that we're placing our packed mud. And this goes as well for all of the funnels. They can have the wrench used on them to decide whether they're taking anything in or whether they're letting things out. And all you're looking at is on the sides or the tops. You'll notice that they've got a little arrow that points in this direction. So this one at the moment is going into the chest, so funnily enough it will take items and put them into the chest. On the other hand, if I hit that with the wrench, it now points out, and so it is releasing items out of the chest instead. And so, if you're struggling to make things go in the right direction, consider using the wrench. You might be surprised at just what it can do. It goes for pretty much anything that has got a direction that is being used to transport something. You can change which direction it's going in. Now, some things you don't actually have to use the wrench with. For example, funnels, if you place them up against a chest, just without crouching, you'll notice that they automatically come out of the chest, little arrow there pointing out, and if you crouch when you place them, they will automatically go in. And that's the same with the mechanical pumps as well. You can change their direction just by crouching when you place them. But other things like to be awkward, namely you, Mr. Basin. You will always output onto the belt that it is above if it has that as an option. And if you want to change it around, you need to use your wrench. And that is answering 5 questions that I made up. They might not actually have been your questions, but hopefully they have answered your problems of why your contraption isn't working, and just some simple fixes if you're having a bit of trouble with them. Anywho though, I hope you've enjoyed this little video, just having a look at some of the common issues that contraptions can have. Happy Minecrafting everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye!